What's going on, everybody? It's Thursday before the Christmas holiday, and I want to wish everybody a happy holiday as the football season heads into its final 3-game stretch, week 16 in the NFL, in a league where they play for pay. And here we are. There's some big games. There's teams fighting for playoff spots. You love this time of the year. The Christmas tree's up. The winter storm is slamming the United States. The cold Arctic air is rushing in. All the makings of a postseason. And we might have a few new apples in the playoffs this year. And tonight's a big game in the Meadowlands. Out in East Rutherford, New Jersey, game number 1, Thursday night special. The Jacksonville Jaguars, who are hot and are coming, led by Trevor Lawrence, who has arrived and having himself a pretty damn good season. The Jaguars are 1 game out of first place behind Tennessee. Unbelievable. And Tennessee's been having hard times. That they've lost their starting quarterback, Tannehill, and they've lost their last 2 games, I believe. The Jets have lost 3 games in a row. At one point in the season, the Jets were flying high had the playoffs in mind. And right now, the Jets are just trying to break a 3-game losing streak. The postseason a little further away in the distance. They'd have to run the table. But tonight, the Jets will host the Jaguars in the Meadowlands, where a nor'easter will be sitting right on top of the stadium. Heavy, drenching, wind-swept, heavy rains, 60-mile-an-hour winds as a storm affects the middle and the eastern part of the United States. The temperatures will be dropping throughout the game, and it will be 60-mile-an-hour winds and waves of rain, which tell you this is going to be a low-scoring game. And I think the weather might fit the Jets. Zach Wilson's going to quarter. He has to manage the game. And Zach Wilson has to not turn the ball over. He doesn't have to have big stats. You run the football, and tonight I'd like to see the Jets open up Wilson in the RPO run game. Wilson has to run a couple of run-designed quarterback plays in order to make this happen and pick up a couple first downs tonight with his legs. You're going to ask Wilson to protect the football and run the football tonight. I like the Jets. Okay? I think the spread's 1.5. Take the Jets straight up to win this game. Give me the football Jets tonight. Give me the Jets. Give me the Jets 16-13. Give me the Jets to win this game and stay alive in the playoff hunt in the AFC Conference for that final 7th seed. Game number 2. The Jets will beat the Jaguars. On to game number 2. Game number 2 is in Carolina. The Detroit Lions, who are hot. One of the hottest teams in all of the National Football League. I believe it's 7 out of 8 for the Lions. Campbell's got this team strong and growing with a big-time future, and the entire team is bought in. Okay? The quarterback's putting up good numbers. The Lions are playing good football. They got their young rookie receiver going. And the Lions have edge rushers. The Detroit Lions are hot, and they can score 30 in any game. And they're going to Carolina. To me, the Panthers are a very discombobulated team. They give you a hard fight. As you saw, they went in Seattle and beat them 2 weeks ago. They fight, but I don't know if they can last 4 quarters. They have a lot of rebuilding to do, and they might be looking at yet another quarterback. And in the draft, Carolina's going to be looking for another quarterback. On this day, the Lions are minus 2.5 on Saturday. I like the Lions minus 2.5. Take the Lions. They should win this game. I could see them winning the game by a good 6 points. 27-21 Lions, somewhere around there. Detroit will cover the -2.5. Game number 3, we're going to New England after the biggest clown disaster of a play in NFL history last week, where the Patriots decided they were going to throw the ball backwards twice in a tied ball game with 0 on the clock. Mind-boggling. What? You gotta be out of your mind. If you're watching this game, your eyes lit up like, what is this team doing? Looked like the guy had no clue that the game was tied. The ball was thrown back to him. I think he felt like because it was thrown back to him, he had to throw it back himself. Right into Chandler's arms, and Chandler, who gave up on the play, was just standing there, found a hot potato flying out his hands. And on the other way, he went for 40 yards and a touchdown. The Raiders, in the most unbelievable play to close a game with 0 on the clock that you've ever seen, stole the game from New England. And that loss might have wrecked the Patriots season, because looking to get into the playoffs now is going to be very hard for them, as they would probably have to run the table and get some help. The Patriots are +3 at home against Cincinnati. Cincinnati is a well-oiled machine. Top 3 or 4 teams in the NFL. They don't have a weakness at any aspect of the game, any part. Their defense is so strong. Their offensive line, Burrow is a beast. Chase, and their running game is strong. The Bengals are the best team in the league that continues to fly under the radar for the 2nd straight year. Nobody wants to acknowledge how real they are. This is a Super Bowl contender. Cincinnati's going up to New England. New England's +3 at home with their season on the line. And this is usually where the Patriots bounce back usually. Cincinnati was down 17-0 in Tampa. They came roaring back, scored 34 unanswered. That's what that team's capable. Tampa Bay is a garbage can. They are a terrible team who might find their way in the playoffs with 7 wins. It's disgusting. But that's for another day. New England's +3 at home. It's going to be freezing this weekend in New England with snow. The elements may play a role, but both these teams are used to the very cold weather. The Bengals are a much better team. But for some reason on this day, I feel like once again Belichick's going to have this team ready to play a very smart, fundamentally sound football game. The Patriots are +3. I buy a point because I don't trust it, and I make the Patriots +4. But I tell you, I'll take the Patriots +4. They might even pull this game out. They might pull the upset out. Cincinnati had to spend themselves to come back on the road last week, and now they're back on the road again in New England. But to play it safe, I'll take the Patriots +4. Game number 4, we're going to Dallas. An NFC East showdown. The Dallas Cowboys will host the Philadelphia Eagles. And Jalen Hurts will not be part of this football game. He hurt his ankle. He could go if he really had to, but the smart thing to do when you have a 2.5 game lead in the NFC East and you hold the first seed in the conference is you can afford a loss if it came to that. It wouldn't hurt you. So you rest Hurts for a week or 2. They're going to go with Minshew, who's a good game manager, a pretty solid backup. But the Cowboys lost to the Eagles early this year. The Cowboys are coming off a bad loss to the Jaguars where they gave up 40 points and Dak threw a pick 6. I believe it was in overtime. 40-34, the Jaguars knocked off the Cowboys. And you know what? I think Dallas comes home here. The Cowboys are -5. Take the Dallas Cowboys. What I would do is buy a point and make it -4. At -4, you take the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys will win this game. It's a payback game. It's not going to win them the division. It'll put them 1 game behind Philly, which is going to push Philly to have to play the rest of the season out. But I believe the Dallas Cowboys win this game, and I believe they'll cover the 4. I'll even think they'll cover the 5. I like the Cowboys in this game by a score of 30-17. Dallas Cowboys. As the Eagles' offense is strong, but it ain't strong without MVP candidate Hurts. It's not going to be the same. End the games in Dallas. Game number 5, we're going down to sunny Palm Tree, Miami, where the Miami Dolphins have been looked for on a milk carton. The Miami Dolphins haven't been home in 4 weeks. They spent 2 weeks on the West Coast against the Niners and the Chargers, lost both. Then they had to fly over to Buffalo for that monster Saturday night game, AFC East, in the snow last Saturday night, where they gave a valid effort and a strong, solid game, but fell short as the Buffalo Bills took over the game in the fourth quarter. As the snow started falling, the Bills started gaining fire. Some people were complaining that the Dolphins were getting snowballs thrown at them by the fans on their benches. But you know what? If you remember earlier this year, that's a payback. When Miami pumped up the heat, it was 100 degrees and didn't allow a sprinkler system for the Bills' side and their benches. So they were suffering and they were having cramps. And they suffered in that heat. And what goes around comes around. And Miami loves the heat. And Buffalo, well, they love their snow, boy. And the Buffalo Bills are the number 1 seed in the AFC, and they are not going to relinquish it. The Miami Dolphins have a monster game. They haven't won a game in over 3 weeks. 3 in a row they've lost. They're 1 game away from being outside of the 7th seed. This is a must-win for the Dolphins. In comes Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, who have won 4 straight games. And the Packers believe they're still alive in the NFC. And who am I to say they're not? This will be a big-time game that's flying under the radar. The Dolphins are minus 3.5, so Vegas is giving them a half at home. The Miami Dolphins are a better team than they've showed the last 3 weeks. And they showed you a great game in that cold environment, that hostile environment in Buffalo. Played a tight-ass game with the Bills for the 2nd time this year. They showed the Bills that you may not want to see Miami for the 3rd time in the playoffs. Because Miami matches up. Three and a half. 3.5 in Miami. I got news for you. Saturday, the temperatures are supposed to go down in Florida to somewhere between 40 and 50 degrees, depending on what part of Florida you are. You're talking about a cold temperatures at the Arctic blast invades the United States and comes all the way down to the Gulf Coast. And this doesn't happen often. They're talking about some of the coldest temperatures in Florida in 40 years. Game time temperature in Miami might be around 48 degrees. But it'll be sunny. The Miami Dolphins are due for a win. I love the Miami Dolphins this Sunday to solidify their spot in the playoffs because they've been there all year. They deserve it, and they are one of the better teams in the AFC. They lost 3 in a row, but they were on the road for all 3 weeks. They come home. Their fan base will be there. They better be there. And the Packers, I believe you are what you are, and we know what the Packers were this year. The Miami Dolphins are minus 3.5. Yo, be smart in this type of game. This easily could be a 3-point game. Buy the point. Make Miami minus 2.5. Miami Dolphins win this game minus 2.5. I like the Miami Dolphins. I like the Miami Dolphins. 30-27 by 3. The Miami Dolphins come out with a big win. Game number 6. Let's fly across to the West Coast to what's looking like the most physical team in the NFL, the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers are a beast. They'll run it up your throat. They'll throw it right across the field. They'll play action off their running game. They are built like an old school football team. And in the trenches, both O-line and D-line are among the top in the NFL. And that's how you win football. And that's how you win football. And that's how you win football with a rookie quarterback who's only had a 4 or 5 games in his career. Not even. And you don't ask him to do much, even though he's been making the throws down the field. He's been pretty good. But he's a rookie. And you can hide him behind that monster O-line, that physical running game. You got Ayuk, who's balling on the outside, and Kittle, who's one of the best tight ends all around over the middle of the field, blocking and catching. And the 49ers defense is second to nobody in the NFL right now, led by that linebacker Warner and the front four. Bosa's having a beast of a year. I believe it's 14.5 sacks, among the top in the NFL. The Niners haven't lost a game in weeks. I believe it's 6 or 7 in a row. The Washington Redskins, coming off a tough, hard-nosed backyard brawl, but ended up on the losing side against the New York Giants. Some people want to blame the refs, but you know what? When you score 12 points at home on your home field in a monster game in the season, with the playoff seed on the line between the two, because they had just tied 3 weeks ago. And the Giants' offense is one of the worst in the NFL because they are carrying a non-NFL core of wide receivers. And the Giants are running a backup secondary because every single corner and safety on the starting secondary is out injured. And you as Washington only able to score 12 points. Yes, the Giants' front four on D balled out. They wrecked the game. Kayvon Thibodeau announced his arriving to the entire league on a Sunday night as he wrecked that game. But at home, you got to put up more than 12 points. If you want to blame the refs on a missed pass interference call at the end of the game, well, I could show you 7 other plays throughout the game for both teams where the refs could have called plays. They let the 2 play. You got nobody but to blame yourself because you got to put up more than 12 points at home against a backup secondary. Washington's going to San Fran. Washington's season's on the line. Washington's probably going to have to win out or at least win 2 out of 3 to try to grab the 7th seed. They are in the 7th seed right now, but to hold on. Washington's going across to play one of the best teams in football. A lot of people think this team, the 49ers, will end up in the Super Bowl. The Niners are favored by 7. I believe Washington's going to pound the ball. They're going to play a very angry defensive football game. The 49ers defense is going to bring it like they always do, and they don't allow many scores. A matter of fact, in the last 7 weeks, I believe the Niners haven't allowed more than 1 touchdown in the first half of all 7 games. 1 touchdown, 7. Look for this to be a defensive war. And Washington's up to the task. They can bring it on defense. Their front line is vicious. Washington is an underdog by 7. They will cover this 7. And the Miz gives you his dog. 1 dog special of the week. My dog of the week. The Washington Redskins Commanders will upset the 49ers in San Fran. And Washington will play an A+ game. And they will pull this game out. And I'm going to take Washington to win this game. I like Washington. 17-14. My dog of the week. They'll push forward and hold on to that 7th seed in this wacky NFL season. Game number 8 and my final game of this week. To Minnesota we go on a Christmas Eve special. The New York Football Giants will go to Minnesota one of the hottest offenses in the NFL, coming off of an unbelievable comeback. One historic comeback down 33-0 at half. The Vikings roar back in the second half like it's street football and come back and win that game 39-36. Yes, against the Colts, who aren't one of the better teams in the league this year. But at 33-0, I don't care if you're playing some kids in the schoolyard. That's impressive. And they did it. And that comeback didn't start till there was 9 minutes left in the third quarter. It wasn't even the beginning of the third quarter. 9 minutes left in the third was the first time the Vikings scored. And they went on a 39-point rampage. 39-36. The Vikings came back and pulled off history. And here come the Giants off of a very physical football game on Sunday night in front of the nation, where Daniel Jones carried a bag of grapes at wide receivers. Peanuts, if you will. He ain't working with much, but he's working. He is working. An 18-play, 9-minute drive down the field against that Washington front four. One of the better front four in the leagues. In Washington, hostile environment, and allowed Barkley to stick it right up the middle for the touchdown. That was the pivotal drive in the game. And then at the end, with a few minutes left, Jones once again took them halfway down the field and enough room to get that kicker, that field goal. And the Giants' front defense, led by Kayvon Thibodeau, who wrecked the football game. 12 tackles, a strip sack, fumble, picked up the ball, walked into the end zone. And people forget that on the play before the last of the game, Thibs was in the backfield in the secondary, and he made the tackle on the receiver at the half-yard line, saving the game for the moment. What proved to be the game-saving tackle on the half-yard line near the cones. He held the receiver out by a good 6 to 8 inches. Or that team would have been trying to get the two-point conversion to tie the game. The Giants went on to win the game. They ran off the field with a monster win that saved their season. And the Giants are 8-5-1. The Giants move up to 8-5-1. And Washington falls behind by a game. 7-6-1. The New York Giants are going to Minnesota, and Minnesota's ranked one of the best offenses in the league. They could pound the rock with Cook. They could throw the ball all over the lot. They're at home on Christmas Eve. It's going to be a hard game, and all year long I looked at this game and said the Giants don't have a shot. But something changed this week. Daniel Jones is growing. Barkley's getting healthier and looked much better Sunday night. Bredesen has come back, and this O-line with Bredesen in the middle looked better than it has in the last 10 weeks. Against Washington, they allowed time to throw, and they opened up enough holes to run. Minnesota's defense has major issues. They give up a lot of points and a lot of yards. And it's time for the Giants to open up the offense a little bit. I know they don't have the receivers, but you got to take some shots down the field. And it's time to unleash Bellinger over the middle of the field. Hey, if the New York Giants can go to Minnesota and pull off a win, combined with a Seattle and a Washington loss, the Giants, the football Giants will clinch a playoff spot. And it would be 2 weeks before the end of the season. Who would have imagined this in August? What a season Brian Daboll has given the Giants. The Minnesota Vikings are -3.5 in this game. Obviously, they are the better team, and they are home. And they are fighting for a first seed in the NFC Conference. The New York Giants are going to go to Minnesota, and their front D-line is going to give Minnesota all kinds of problems. I also believe the Vikings, coming off of that very emotional comeback win, they spent themselves, and I believe they're going to have a hard time finding that same level of energy. I tell you, with the Giants, to buy a point, make it 4.5. The Giants plus 4.5 is a safe bet. I think the Giants and Vikings are going to play to a game-winning field goal by one of these two teams. Very hard for me to say who or where, but I think this game comes down to a field goal. Both offenses are going to have their ways at certain points in this game. I think the Giants are out to prove something. And I think the Giants are going to go down there and give Minnesota all they can handle. I like the Giants to win this game. You can buy a point if you want to play it safe. If you're somebody who plays the cookies, Giants plus 4.5 to me is a safe bet, as this will come down to a field goal. But I think in one of these weeks, the luck at the end of the game is going to go the other way. The ball's going to bounce the other way. The Vikings have won so many games in the final possessions or in one-score games, and one's due to go the other way. And they caught luck in a bottle last week. And now they owe the league one back. Give me the football Giants this Saturday. And give me the New York Football Giants 27-24. The Giants upset the Vikings. And they'll be watching opponents to see if they open up the champagne bottle on Christmas Eve. Will the Giants be involved in the NFC Conference Dance, the playoffs, for the first time since 2016? That's the Miz's picks for Week 16. May everybody out there be blessed, and may your families be healthy. Happy holidays.